Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week, 10 days, for today's second video, which will take us to around the first day of March. I think day 10 is actually the 1st of March now. We'll get extended out beyond that, the extended GFS and ECM ensembles as well, of course. So again, I'll get on with that for you very shortly. Just say that today's first video update is having a look at the weather for the next 30 days with the ECM WF 30-day model for the UK and for the rest of Europe as well. So have a look at that when you're done with this video. I'm going to start off with a few pictures that have been sent through to us. So this one has been sent through by Frank Kromak in Austria. So still quite a bit of snow cover up over high ground in Austria. We can see from these pictures here that still decent amount of cover up on the hills and the mountains, but looking down into the valley, into lower ground, we see that snow is rapidly disappearing. Frank has emailed to say that the worst of the winter seems to be over, at least for the time being, over there in Austria. Not only is it in the UK that weather is turning much milder, it will be turning a lot milder across, or a lot warmer across many parts of Europe in the coming days. That was sent to us by Mark Kanish. I think that's up in the Wirral area. So that was yesterday, early spring afternoon there. And then a few pictures been shared with us on Twitter. So this one was from Simon77D at Simon Treasure. This is showing cloud formation over Crumford Heath, Poole, Dorset yesterday afternoon. There were some big old clouds around yesterday afternoon, but not all that much rain. This is from our good friend James Ackrill. This is a picture of the moon. Tonight's nearly full moon yesterday on the 18th of February. That one also from James showing back edge frontal cloud, and it pushed through yesterday afternoon, leaving that very awesome looking skyline. This one's from Daniel Meller. Daniel was on his way home from Portsdown, a hill looking towards Cowes, and again big vibrant clouds going on yesterday afternoon. This is from UK Weather Live, the Solent being swallowed this evening by some stormy skies. So there were some big old showers around yesterday. That one's from Craig, so he was saying that 5:30 and still light in the afternoon. And then this one also from Craig. So that one is a photo from a previous year of what looks like some very nice spring flowers. If you would like to have your pictures featured in the weather videos, then there are various ways you do them. You can email them to us at gazup@gmail.com. You can share with us on our Facebook and Twitter pages, or post them in the comment box at Gazup. When we've got a bit of time, we're always happy to feature some of your pics in the videos. Big thank you to everyone for sending their pictures through. Right, Central England temperature has gone above 2 degrees. Excuse me, provisional to yesterday, the 18th of February. We are standing at 5.7, an anomaly of just over 2 degrees above average. So it's getting ever warmer. This is going to carry on rising over the next few days. I think there's a good chance now that we will get to 7 degrees with the CET 7.0. Then maybe a downwards correction that will then take it just a little bit under 7. But at the moment, I think 7.0 is a distinct possibility now, given how warm the temperatures are going to be getting from where we are right now, 5.7, and then how much more it's got to rise over the final sort of 10 days of the month. I reckon we can get to 7.0 with this now, so could well turn out to be the warmest February since 2002, completely in contrast to all of the long-range forecasts, which many of them, including Gazov's long-range forecasts, pointed towards February being the coldest month of the winter, but not so. It does look as though this February is going to be an exceptionally mild February. It won't be a record breaker. That long-standing record, we talked about it in a video last week, that long-standing record from the 18th century for February CT. That's safe. That's not going to be beaten. But I reckon we can definitely pull off the warmest February since 2002. We'll be interested to see how that pans out. GFS, upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles next. So we're looking at Pembroke down there in Wales. Now, someone asked me if we could look at Hermon in Pembrokeshire. I had a look to try to find Hermon within the ensemble section at West Central, but that place is not listed. So the closest I got to that is Pembroke itself. A couple of other places that I think have been suggested: Bive and Scorbing. Some people have suggested those two places, and again, I can't find them within the Wetter Central sort of section for the ensembles, so won't be able to feature those places, but you can always resubmit with another location that's kind of like in the area that we can try and have a look at. Right, so this is how things are looking for Pembroke, and the red line here, of course, is the 30-year upper air temperature average. So we're going above average in the next few days, and we're going to be staying there. So that's where we are right now, quite close to average. It is relatively cool today. It's still a little bit milder than average, but it's relatively cool compared to what we have had and what we will have in the days ahead. But by the middle and the second half of this week, you'll see the temperatures lifting up, going into a prolonged spell of not only very mild weather, but warm weather, warm upper air temperatures there, with the GFS ensembles going in towards the end of the month. The dates on the bottom of the chart, of course, so that's the 1st of March just there, by which time we do see the ensembles are declining, temperatures are lowering, and as we go through the first week of March, it does look as though we're pulling off quite a drop in the temperature now, certainly getting it back to the 30-year temperature average, possibly even going a little bit colder than average through the first days of March. So it could well be that we have this burst of real spring warmth in the next few days, but then we see the temperatures lowering back towards sort of winter levels as we get through the first week of March. So I'm not sure it'll be particularly cold, but it'll certainly be a lot cooler and maybe colder, I think, as we go through the first week of March. As far as precipitation is concerned, a lot of dry weather coming up. Remember, this is Pembroke, so it's going to be really exposed to the Irish Sea and the Atlantic. Some rain overnight tonight and into tomorrow, after that very dry through to next week. Precipitation spikes are coming back, though, through the first week of March. So not only do we see the temperature dropping through the first week of March, it also looks like it'll be turning a lot more unsettled as well, particularly for western parts of the country exposed to the Irish Sea and to the Atlantic. Much more in the way of rain coming through there. Let's see how represented that is inland. So we'll go to Buxton, and you can see even there, as we're going in through the first week of March, even in Buxton, right in the central part of England, we are seeing the precipitation spikes increasing quite a bit now through that first week of March. So it could well be that we're going to turn much more unsettled and also quite a lot cooler, maybe even colder, as we get through into the first week of mid-tropical spring. But as far as the next week is concerned, temperatures are going to be staying well above average. So this is the temperature anomaly from the 19th to 27th of February. It's much warmer than average for the UK, for Ireland, and for most parts of Northern Europe too. Precipitation anomalies remain very dry, so it's high and dry. The situation continues with the high pressure keeping it warm and dry. In the week ahead from the 19th to 27th of February, precipitation anomalies are much drier than average, particularly so for the south and the southeast. This is how the GFS operational run is looking. High pressure is sitting over and to the east of the country on Friday, and we're bringing up this very mild, if not quite warm, southerly to southwesterly wind. That high pressure continues to sit across central parts of Europe into the weekend, still pulling up these warm southerly, southeasterly influences. High pressure just relocating a little bit on Monday towards southern Scandinavia, and that could just start to drift the air in a little bit from the North Sea. So possibly temperatures start to lower into the early part of next week, but still quite mild. That high pressure still sitting around the country through to the middle of next week before it gradually starts to ease away in the second half of next week. We're going up towards day 10, and we have got a bit of ridge starting to build down from the north then. You'll notice we've got some above average heights appearing around Greenland and Iceland, and it's beginning to pull the wind into more of a northerly direction as well. Cold air is properly surging back through Scandinavia, by the way, with this trough of low pressure just here. This has got really cold air associated with it, pushing down into northern and northeastern parts of Europe. We're on the periphery, on the edges of that. But but we are beginning to raise the heights a little bit up towards Greenland and Iceland as we get to the first day of March. Into more extended range, so we've got ridges continuing to sit close to the country. It's trying to get more unsettled, particularly to the north and west, but we've still got these ridges sort of through the country. You've still got a pool of very cold air sitting just to our north and northeast, and that's how we finish up with the 6 o'clock run of the GFS. High pressure is building over Scandinavia, low pressure is coming in from off the Atlantic, so it's a little bit of a battle taking place there. Actually, if I show you the upper air temperatures, you can see that we've got a lot of cold air sitting to our east northeast and pretty cool air coming in from off the Atlantic too. Excuse me again. So it looks a little bit more unsettled there as we go through the first week of March, and pretty chilly as well. I think turning cooler definitely through the first week of March. This is how the parallel GFS run is looking. Again, high pressure is well and truly in charge through the end of this week and into the weekend, bringing up those balmy southerly to southeasterly winds. The high pressure stays more or less in control into the early part of next week too, before gradually it starts to weaken a little bit. Although that's how we're looking at day 10. We're still under a ridge actually on the first day of March. We've still got this ridge through the country, but it is being squeezed on either side. So in the Atlantic, things are revving up around here. And we start to push the westerlies in from the Atlantic. But of course, we've also got this cold plunge across Scandinavia and northeastern parts of Europe, with low pressure trough sinking through the northeast of Europe. So between either side, the ridge is kind of like sitting in the middle, but it is being squeezed on either side by low pressure as a trough over northeast of Europe and low pressure in the Atlantic as well. So gradually this high pressure begins to get pushed out and we go into a slightly more unsettled spell of weather as we move through the first week of March. That's how we look at the end of the parallel GFS run on Thursday, the 7th of March. Looks like we're turning a little bit more unsettled at that point. Temperatures are looking like this, so this afternoon, it's quite a mild-ish afternoon down in the south, around 9, 10, 11 degrees. Up in the north, though, temperatures are closer to average. Remember, you can normally add on 2 or 3 degrees, though, to these charts. Tomorrow, it's a milder day. Temperatures are pushing up to sort of 10 to 13 degrees. Add on a couple of degrees, might be up to 15 in 1 or 2 places tomorrow. But Thursday is when it turns very mild, so widely on Thursday, afternoon temperatures are reaching, on the chart, they're reaching 14 to 16 degrees. But if you add on another couple of degrees, that's getting us to around 17, possibly 18 degrees perhaps, in 1 or 2 parts of eastern Britain on Thursday afternoon. That's getting close to record-breaking temperature levels. That's actually Friday afternoon. It's getting very close to record-breaking temperature levels. With all-time February maximum temperature is 19.7, which was set back in 1998, 21 years ago. So it's getting very close to that kind of level if you was to add on a couple of degrees, but probably just falling a little bit short of it. Saturday, another very mild, if not quite warm afternoon. Temperatures again widening to the mid-teens. Add on another couple of degrees, 16 or 17 degrees is possible. Sunday, again, looking quite mild for England and Wales, but just beginning to lower the temperature a little bit across parts of Scotland and north-eastern Britain. As we go through to next week, it is mild through the first part of the week, maybe very mild, but gradually the temperatures begin to lower as we go into the second half of next week. So by the time we get through to the end of next week, temperatures across England and Wales are kind of like 9 to 11, and for Scotland and Northern Ireland, they're sort of into single digits. Nice getting a bit colder as well, maybe some frost coming back by night in the second half of next week too. So it's going to be very mild, if not warm, through Thursday, Friday and Saturday afternoons, but probably just falling short of that February record. But it may be a fairly close run thing. We'll keep an eye on it, of course. This is the ECMWF. Again, we've got these warm southerly winds on Friday with high pressure sitting to our east. The high pressure continues into the weekend and even into the start of next week too. That high pressure not really going anywhere fast. As we go to the middle of next week, the high pressure just starts to edge out a little bit to our west. And then it pushes north. So as we go into the second half of next week, day 10 takes us to Friday the 1st of March. And the high pressure then is kind of like sitting over and to the north of the country. It's moved from being to the south to the east to kind of like over the UK and also to the north. Again, there's that cold northerly wind plunging down on the eastern side of that ridge of high pressure. And we are having quite cold air, actually, with +or -5 Celsius isotherm through the country at day 10, Friday the 1st of March. So the ECM does turn things, it keeps things pretty settled right way up to day 10, but it does turn things quite a bit colder. That's fairly well supported as well within the ECM ensembles. These are the postage stamps today from the Icelandic Met Office from the ECM ensembles at day 10, which of course is the 1st of March. We've got 24 ensemble members, including the run we're just looking at, the ECM operation run, but also the control ECM run. 24 of them that have the ridge of high pressure over and to the north of the country. Low pressure is in the middle of the Atlantic, and so we're pulling down some quite chilly air with this ridge from the north and from the northeast. There's another 19 that have a ridge over and slightly to the east of us, so they're a warmer scenario. They're mainly dry and settled, but they're bringing the air up more from a southerly type direction. And then there's 8, a minority option that have the high pressure across central parts of Europe, with low pressure beginning to push in from off the Atlantic. So these are mild, but they are turning more unsettled as well, with a little bit more influence from the Atlantic. So that idea of it being settled but fairly chilly at day 10, maybe a little bit cold, that idea there that we have with the ECM operation run is quite well supported by the ECM ensembles. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got within the ECM ensembles. Doesn't include the operational ECM, of course, because that only runs out to 10 days. So we've got 30 members of the ECM ensembles in 2 weeks' time, which is the 6th of March, including the ECM control run that, again, has this ridge to our north, and low pressure is being blocked to some degree in the Atlantic. So this is a bit of a battleground situation. We've got the high pressure to the north-northeast trying to bring in quite cold winds from a east or northeast direction, but got low pressure in the Atlantic trying to bring in those milder Atlantic winds. Now, that gets quite interesting because there would, of course, be weather fronts marking the boundary. And that's the kind of situation that can produce some snow. So it's 2 weeks away, and it's only like a suggestion within the ECM ensembles, but it looks like there is a bit of a battle going on there. And then there's 21 members of the ECM ensembles that are just very, very unsettled in 2 weeks' time. They have this deep area of low pressure over to west of the country, and they're unleashing proper Atlantic winds. So those ones are a little bit Atlantic unleashed as we go into the end of the first week of March. Finally, the CFSV2 500 millibar heights for the next month. These are broken down into weekly periods. The first week period will take us from the 19th to the 25th of February. The coming week has high pressure dominating, sitting over and to the east of the country. Low pressure is in the Atlantic. We're pulling up mild or warm southerly type winds. So mild, dry, quite warm for the next week. Then we go through into week 2. It takes us from the 26th of February to the 4th of March, with that ridge then over the top of the country. So again, very settled conditions in the closing days of February and even into the beginning of March. A high pressure is well and truly in control there. Probably not quite as warm because the high pressure is more centred over the top of the UK as opposed to pulling up those southerly winds. So not quite as warm as it is in week 1, but even so, high pressure and very pleasant swing-like conditions continuing then. Then we go through to week 3. It's the 5th to the 11th of March, with low pressure deepening in the Atlantic, high pressure beginning to slip over to our east. So we've got a ridge across Scandinavia and down central parts of Europe. So that again, it's a bit of a battle, but it's not particularly cold with this. Remember the ECM ensembles with the battle between high pressure, low pressure. The ECM ensembles has the high pressure up here, centred up there, pulling down cold air from the northeast at the same time as low pressure in the Atlantic is trying to bring those milder Atlantic winds. So that what the ECM ensembles show, and to some degree the ECM operation run, that is a possibility of a little bit of snow through the first week of March. This isn't. This is just kind of like a battle between high pressure to east across central parts of Europe and low pressure in the Atlantic. Winds will be kind of like southerly to southeasterly, you see. So that will be a mild air mass, but still a bit of a battle between high pressure to the east and low pressure to the west. And then we finish up in week 4 looking unsettled. This is the 12th to the 18th of March. CFS is flagging this up quite a lot at the moment. Low pressure out to the west of us, bringing in these westerly winds. Still mild, but unsettled, with showers or longer spells of rain being thrown into the country from off the Atlantic. The evidence is beginning to mount that we might be seeing some sort of change through the early part of March. So for the rest of February, high pressure is going to remain in control. We're going to keep it pretty dry. It's going to start off very mild, if not warm. May get a little bit cooler through the course of next week, but still generally quite a lot of settled weather around. By the start of March, we could be a little bit colder, and we may then start to see a transition to more unsettled conditions as well. Obviously, how much cold we dig in and how stubborn that cold air is through the first week of March will determine whether we can pull off any snow. I would suspect that's quite unlikely, but it does look as though we are going to turn increasingly cooler and increasingly more unsettled through the first week or two of March. That's the trend within the model output to date, I think. But, of course, it's all extended range stuff. So we just have to keep an eye on it. It might be that high pressure will prove more stubborn than these models are thinking. If so, we will keep relatively dry, but also relatively mild conditions going into the early part of March. Right, that's it for your video updates for today. We're back tomorrow with 5-day forecasts. Another look at the weather for next week, 10 days as well. So come back for the updates tomorrow. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.